Hello friends, it's Greg here on the Blue Feather Ephemera channel, and it's time for another weekly video. In my videos, I show you what's sold in my eBay store where I sell vintage magazine print advertising. And this week I sold 16 items for $203.32. So sales are starting to climb back out of the basement a little bit. Each week we also address a bonus topic. This week it's called B-Side Hits, and I'll be talking about decisions that we make as sellers when we run into good ads on both sides of the page, so stay tuned for that. But first, let's take a look at those ads. The first ad I'll show you is from the Chase Brass and Copper Company, and it shows all of the different home building products that this contractor's using. It talks about roofing, radiant heat. Also, in the picture here, it's got gutters and downspouts. It's got copper pipes for plumbing. It's got copper tubing. And let's talk about that tubing. Down here in this picture right here, they're putting that copper tubing under the subfloor so you can have heated floors in your house. The picture on the left there is showing clean drinking water from the copper pipes. This company is based in Waterbury, Connecticut. This ad appeared in Better Homes and Gardens 1956, and it's going to New York for $16.77. That same customer bought this ad here from 1952. It appeared in Saturday Evening Post. It's a company called Iron Fireman, and it's another company that produced radiant heat products. This is a home furnace it's talking about, but in the details of the ad here, it shows you that you can get that in oil or gas or coal. And at the bottom of the ad, it says that they produce heating products for homes, buildings, and industrial plants. It sold for $10.77, also going to New York. I sold one more ad this week for radiant heat, so let's go ahead and knock it out. This is for a company called Burnham Corporation. They're based in Irvington, New York. And in this ad, it talks about base ray heaters. And this is a baseboard heat system made out of cast iron. And in the picture here, it shows the mother hen sitting on her chicks. And it says draft free heat means real comfort. So basically, just like a mother hen keeps the draft off of the chicks, you don't have to worry about drafts with this kind of heat. Nice little ad here. It's about a quarter page. $8.77 sent this to Virginia. Here's an ad for that chocolate flavored drink mix called Ovaltine. It was marketed for its health benefits. It had all the vitamins and nutrition in it, and most of us know it these days from that movie called A Christmas Story. That's where Ralphie ordered his little orphan Annie decoder ring for drinking a lot of Ovaltine. They had all the marketing gimmicks going on. Besides Little Orphan Annie, they offered other premiums as well, and they got endorsements from people like this guy right here. This is golfer Johnny Farrell, and when you look at the details of the ad here, it says that he was a top golfer of his day thanks to his phenomenally accurate putting. And so, how do you prepare for a tournament? You practice, 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 and get a good night's sleep. And what helps you get a good night's sleep better than drinking Ovaltine? So, that's one of his secrets there. This ad I sold for $16.77. It ran in Look Magazine 1939. It's on its way to New York. It was either last week or maybe 2 weeks ago when I talked about that Quaker State motor oil ad that had only a single color in it, the green of the product, or the green that the product is associated with in their packaging. And in this ad right here, Ansco Film, it says that this film sees red, and it has a red package, and red's associated with the product. And here it really jumps out at you in the ad. Again, I think if you're going to save money in an advertising budget and you can just, like, one of these products where you're associated with a product color. Getting that into your ad was an effective way to save money and still have a color ad with a great impact. This ran in Saturday Evening Post, 1955. It's an ad for Ansco Film, and it's talking about the all-weather panchromatic black and white film. And it says that this film sees red. And that sounds a little funny because we're talking about black and white pictures, but when you read the detail here, it says that the film does differentiate between the different hues and colors, and it keeps you from getting an oversaturated picture like the one on the left here of this girl in her, I guess you would call that buffalo plaid, red and black, and where it looks like she's got black lips and a black jacket on. This film treats that differently because it does sense the colors, even though it's printing in black and white. So, real interesting technology for the day, and good photographer interest. I sold this ad for $14.77. It's on its way to California. Here's a World War II era ad. This one was from 1942. It ran in Fortune magazine, and the company is called Reeves Speed Control, Columbus, Indiana. In this ad, it talks about how the Reeves Speed Control Company contributed to not building the Liberty ship engines, but they actually helped to re engineer the machines in the factories that got the contract to build Liberty ship engines. And so it says that the factory only had a bunch of old machines that it could get a hold of, and Reeves re engineered them. And they got, it says within 90 days, the first engine was delivered. And so that's the pace of innovation and accomplishment during World War II. It's something I never cease to find fascinating. $14.77 sent this ad to California. I forgot to mention that last ad, that Reeves ad, went to a repeat customer, and this one right here does too. This is an ad for Brer Rabbit molasses, and this appeared in the Farmer's Wife magazine, 1932. This advertisement tells about a recipe contest, and when you look at the details here, it's got a recipe here for Brer Rabbit molasses bran bread, but on down here it talks about the prize amounts that you can win for recipes: $100 first prize, and then a bunch of other prizes too. But I want to call your attention here. It says they will be judged awards by cooking experts and the rules for the recipe contest. I thought this was interesting too. Right down at the bottom of the page, it says, attention church members. They've got, basically, it's a whole nother contest going on for churches to participate. They've got $400 in prizes for churches. And so I thought that was kind of interesting. This ad right here sold for $12.77, going to a repeat customer in Florida. Next, we're going to look at an advertising insert from Argosy Magazine, 1965, and this is for Mossberg. They made rifles and shotguns, still do, but I think they're better known for their shotguns. At least that's what I hear more about. On this insert, you see the duck hunter there with his shotgun, and the retriever is bringing in his duck. If he gets another one, we learned last week, two of them's called a brace. But here in eastern Kentucky, it's not a migratory flyway for waterfowl like ducks and geese. And so, as far as ducks go, I'd never seen more than two at a time flying unless it was like a duck and some hatchlings. But as far as just ducks flying around, it was always, well, I guess you have to shoot them before you can call them a brace. Before that, I guess it's Mr. and Mrs. Duck or Donald and Daisy or whatever. But anyway, never did see many. I'd seen more bears. I'd seen a larger number of bears at one time than I had ever seen ducks at one time up until a few years ago. And then I had a chance to go out to the Mississippi River Valley and in late summer, early fall, and see tens of thousands of ducks and geese all at one time, and never had seen that before. It was really something. But anyway, we're talking about Mossberg. And if I didn't say it, this was Argosy Magazine, 1965. Uh, when you turn it over and open it up, you've still got the front here. On the other side is the back of that insert, and that's a sweepstakes entry form. They're going to give away 100 prizes there. And then if you flip that over and look at the opposite side, um, there it is. That is the a couple of Mossberg shotguns that you're looking at there. And then I'll make a note here and say you could open this up if you unstuck it or deperforated it or ripped it apart or whatever. You could see that there was actually a whole nother inside of that thing. Here's a couple of views of it, and I didn't want to tear that open. I made a note here down at the bottom of the listing. I'm going to slide down the page here and show you what I said about it. This advertisement and Gunner's Choice Sweepstakes entry mailer form will fold out after a perforated edge is torn, but I'm not going to do that just to photograph it. I've opened the edge so that the picture can show the inside is also printed. And so that's what I listed it like, and it went ahead and sold. It sold for $18.77. It's on its way to Michigan. This is one of the more interesting ads that I sold this week, and it appeared in the Farmer's Wife magazine, 1932. And it says, "Wanted, man with car." Now, I don't always list very small ads, but if something catches my eye, I'll go ahead and put it up for sale. And this is a small ad. How small? 1 3/4 inches by 3 inches. So it's a very small ad. But I thought that it was interesting because it says a hustler can start earning $35 a week and increase rapidly. Nothing new. Now over 8,200 Raleigh routes. And it's the WT Raleigh Company of Freeport, Illinois. And I got thinking about it after this sold. I don't know what a Raleigh route is. And so I went to look it up, and I found this little article that a fella wrote. I guess he was just, reminiscing, being nostalgic or whatever. But he said that in the rural Midwest, you were either a Raleigh family or a Watkins family, and his family and all of his extended family were Raleigh people. Every so often, the Raleigh man would arrive in our farm driveway in what I later learned was called a panel truck with the Raleigh logo painted in gold on the side. In our kitchen, he would open his multi-layered case and display the most fascinating variety of things, from bottles of vanilla extract to Raleigh's ointment and salve to vitamins. And best of all, there was always a small packet of gum for me. So basically, the Raleigh route, these fellas just came around and sold to the farmers things that they didn't have time to, like, leave the farm and drive a half a day to get to town and pick up these knickknacks and odds and ends. They would shop for those incidentals, sundry items, I guess you'd call them, from the Raleigh man, and save themselves a trip to town. So anyway, a real interesting ad. I enjoyed seeing it and learning about it. $6.77, sent it to Florida. Here's a beautiful ad that I sold this week. You can look at a piece of paper like this and just know that there's a buyer waiting for it. And this one ran in Fortune magazine, 1941. It's for the Norfolk and Western Railway. And it shows a territory map here on the page. And I'm going to let's look at the picture first. Basically, it's just showing industrial development. And it says that in its service corridor, there's room to grow. And a lot of these railroads were about recruiting industry because um, it helped them to have merchandise and commodities to haul, and so it increased their revenue. At the same time, having a railway to haul it was a selling point for companies, so it was sort of a symbiotic relationship there. But on this map, I'll try not to wiggle it around too much, but from Norfolk, Virginia on the Chesapeake Bay, uh, pretty much westward through Williamson, West Virginia, up through Cincinnati and Columbus, Ohio, you can see it sort of parts around eastern Kentucky, and that was Louisville and Nashville Railroad territory in there. But anyway, it's interesting to see the route map, and up in these little panels, it says in their territory you'll find intelligent native labor, a friendly tax policy, equable climate, year-round ice-free port. I guess it's talking about the Chesapeake there, and an abundance of coal. And so there was a lot there for industry. Big selling point, $21.77 sent this ad to Virginia. Here's an advertisement from Look Magazine, 1940. I sold this to a repeat customer. And what this is a Pepsodent antiseptic mouthwash ad. And you can look at the detail here. Let me zoom in a different way. She says the going's easier these days since she discovered Pepsodent. It gives her 3 times the safe breath protection, lasts 3 times as long, and makes her money go 3 times as far. And here in the little panels, it tells a story about how she couldn't get a date. And then she started going along with the crowd that led her to the Pepsodent, and she started using it. And now you can visit her in her new honeymoon house. So she landed her a man because of her mouthwash, and this ad sold for $14.77, and it's on its way to that repeat customer in California. Here is yet another small ad. This one appeared in Private Pilot magazine, 1979. Now, I sold another one like this from a different company a little while back. It's for a folding bicycle. This company is called Bickerton Cycles, and it's based in Portland, Oregon. When I say small, here's the size, almost 3 by almost 4 inches. But the other company I remember was spelled Hon. Now, I don't know if it was pronounced Hun or Hon or Hone. But anyway, in this ad here, it just shows this guy folding the bicycle. It says that it folds in 1 minute to a size 9 inches by 18 inches by 30 inches. It's a 3-speed bicycle, and it will fit in the baggage compartment of any small plane. $6.77 sent this ad to West Virginia. Here's another small ad. I'll go ahead and show you the dimensions first here. This is almost 3 inches by almost 5, so this fits into my $6.77 price range. And it's for a company called Elmer's Candy. I'll zoom in on the ad here. Elmer's Candy, New Orleans, Louisiana. And it says that they sell gold brick nut sundae syrup, heavenly hash, boxes of fiddlers, and boxes of coffee candy. And this is a New Orleans based company. This ad ran in House and Garden magazine, 1957. Now, it's going back to New Orleans, so it's going to its home city, and this is a repeat customer. So $6.77 is sending this to Louisiana. Here's a nice full-page ad from National Geographic magazine. We jump all the way up to 1981 for this one. This is an advertisement for Wausau Insurance, and it's based out of Wisconsin. And it says, "We are Wausau Insurance Companies, formerly Employers Insurance of Wausau, and also formerly Employers Mutuals of Wausau." And it says that just watch for the Wausau name and you'll know you're on the right track. So $12.77 sent this ad back to its hometown in Wisconsin. Next up, we've got a kind of historic ad here from New Yorker Magazine, 1958. Another small ad. This one is for Nat King Cole. It says Cole Espanol. Nat King Cole sings in Espanol. So when you go into the detail and look here, it says that it's a fascinating departure surrounded by the captivating rhythms of Cuba, Mexico, and South America. Nat sings in Spanish. It goes on to say Armando Rameau Jr. conducts music recorded in Havana. So this is 1958, and I went back and double checked those dates, and the Cuban Revolution was ongoing from 1953 to 1959. So at this point, we still had trade and travel to Cuba, and so Nat King Cole was down there doing his music. But it was in 1962, I read, when we slapped on the sanctions and embargoes and all of that kind of stuff uh, with Cuba. Anyway, some interesting history there. This ad sold for $6.77. It's on its way to California. Now, before I move on to the last ad, I've got a quick story here, and I'm going to tell this story specifically for Marty over at the Jiminy Flip It YouTube channel, and he's away from the channel for a little bit. He's out just like Nat King Cole was. Marty's out doing his music thing, and he'll be back soon. But I wanted to tell this story for him. I mentioned before that I spent some time in the Air Force, and the Air Force spent about 2 years teaching me how to learn or teaching me how to speak Russian. And so I've got that, and then I was stationed in Japan for 4 years, so I picked up some Japanese, and I had a lot of service friends who had spouses from the Philippines, and so I picked up some Tagalog, and then in high school, going back to my high school days, I studied French for 2 years, and then of course, mainly what I know about Spanish is off of the restaurant menus, but that's five languages: Russian, Japanese, Tagalog, French, and Spanish. So Marty, I've got a hillbilly accent in 5 languages. Our last ad of the week is a big, bright, colorful ad from House Beautiful 1956. The advertiser is Monarch Rug Mills, and in the detail of the ad here, it says Monarch's magnificent villa, wonderful rich cut pile carpeting, expertly fashioned. It goes on to say that it wears a long, long time with minimum care. Over here, though, it says that the rug mill is based in Dalton, Georgia. That's where the company is. And just a speck of history here. I've said before, I live in a coal mine region, southeast Kentucky. And in the 19, it's always been a boom and bust industry. In the 1940s and 50s, when coal mines would lay off, the miners would pack up and they'd head north and they'd work in steel mills until the mines started hiring back, and then they would come home. Uh, when the steel mills started to shut down, uh, basically in the 1960s and 70s, when the coal mines would lay off, the workers would pack up and they would go down to work in the carpet mills in northwest Georgia. That corner of Georgia is where most of the big companies are located. Mohawk and Shaw and several of the rest of the largest rug companies are located there. But anyway, just like I said, just a speck of history there. $12.77 sent this ad to Louisiana. It's time for the bonus topic, and this week I'm really excited about this one. It's happened before that viewers have been the inspiration for bonus topics, and that's the case this week. I've got a subscriber named Betty. She got in touch with me, and she asked me a great question. If there's great advertising on both sides of the page, do you list both sides? And if not, how do you choose? So that's what we're going to talk about. Before I reveal what I do, I'm just going to talk briefly about what a B side is. This is in reference to 45 RPM records, and back in the day when they put vinyl singles out, The A side was supposed to be the better side. It was the side that it had an expectation attached to it. If there was going to be a hit, it was the A side. That was the attraction and that was the draw for that record. The B side, maybe. Um, it could be something, might not be. They were going to take a chance on it. He puts it a couple of different ways in his article. He says the B side of a record was all about serendipity. It was anticipation, it was exhilaration, it was hope, all of which lead to something even better, optimism. The B side was optimism. He goes on to say the B side was all about chance. The B side was opportunity. The B side was patience. B sides did not succeed right away, no matter how good they were. The appreciation for the great B side was not revealed by popular success, but by quality. That author listed several examples of B side hits for Creedence Clearwater Revival, Born on the Bayou. For Elvis Presley, Hound Dog was a B side. And for Bill Haley and his Comets, Rock Around the Clock. I said all that for this. There's great advertising on both sides of a lot of pages, and you never can tell when what you think is the A side might sit in your store for a while when the B side is a fantastic ad that might have sold quickly. Well, the simple answer is I don't list them. I just don't. And I don't because, and there's a whole list of reasons here, and I'll talk about that. You know, I talk to people on other channels. We send messages back and forth. And, in all of that communication, whether it's been over YouTube or in emails or whatever, I've never, no seller that I know will list both sides. Now, I've seen eBay stores where both sides are listed. I'll talk about that in just a moment. But the buyers that I know and trust and who have experience with this don't try to sell both sides of an ad. In eBay stores, I do see that there are ads, or excuse me, there's listings up that show ads from both sides of the page. It's one listing, front and back pictures are shown, and that is communicated in the listing. But here's the thing, I feel like we have to help the buyers as much as possible and make things crystal clear, because even when it should be crystal clear, there will still be disappointed buyers who are going to think that they are receiving pieces of paper, more than one, with advertising that they might be able to display in frames at the same time. If a buyer can look at an advertisement for a cigarette lighter and read the listing and order it and get it in the mail and then contact me and say, hey, I thought I was buying a cigarette lighter, then, they need as much help as you can give them. And I feel like it's just going to be confusing if you put multiple pictures in one listing. Now, the second point I'll make is that it might confuse me. And that's mainly in reference to a different way of selling both sides of a page or putting it up for sale. And that mainly deals with the concept of having two separate listings, one listing for one side of the page, another listing for the other side of the page. And if one or the other sells, you go in and take out the unsold listing. You just end that listing. um, I I'm not sharp enough to do that. What I would do is I would sell one and ship it out and forget to take the B side down. And then, a week or a month or 6 months later, that ad's going to sell and I'm going to go looking for it. And it's not going to be there because I sold the A side and didn't take down the listing. That's on me. I mean, there's people that are sharp enough, smart enough, organized enough to do that. And we'll talk more about that in just a minute. But it's not something that I feel like would work for me, and I would much rather not have a B side up for sale than to have somebody order the B side and it not be there. And and I disappoint them. I don't want to do that, and I don't want that kind of business associated with my store. And I know I could sit here and think of more than three reasons, but I put three on this graphic here. And the third one I was going to talk about, there's plenty more where that came from. And that just means that, there's plenty of ads to list in one magazine that you can source from, anywhere from 30 to 50 ads on average. And for the first year and a half that I've been doing this, I've been, slowly accumulating magazines and picking up good titles where I can, and trying to find the best prices and add to my stock. But as of 2 days ago, I had about 1,500 magazines in stock. And I was thinking to myself that I'd never have to buy another magazine. And then I went out yesterday and bought 600, 600 more. So, it's a sickness, I think they call it. But I got some great magazines yesterday. I'm excited about that. But anyway, the point being is it's not hard to find stock. Finding great stock is a little bit harder, but it's out there. And so I'm, you know, I'm not going to spend extra time to list a B side when I've got another ad that I could list in the same amount of time and not have to worry about the confusion. Now, over in the next column, I wrote down if I did, I would, and this is the way I would handle listing A and B sides if it was something that I decided to try. I would never try the model that I've seen, which is putting images of a front and a back in one listing. Now, there may be a lot of sellers out there that are listing front and backs in separate listings. And I just wouldn't have a way to know that as a shopper and as a customer just going in and browsing stores. I wouldn't know if that's what I'm looking at or not. But if I was going to list a front in one listing and a back in another listing, I would set up a system. And that would probably consist of having a unique code for that page, front and back. Let's say, for example, I started with uh, MAQ183, and the B side would have MAQ183. And that way, if the A side sold, then I could immediately, and that's what this second statement's about, prioritize delisting unsold sides. The very first thing that I would do is go to MAQ183 in my active listings, search for that, find the listing that has that in the title, and end that listing immediately so that it doesn't actually, accidentally stay up and active in my store and get sold after I've shipped the page out. So that's what I do. That's what I think I would do. I'm not saying do it. I don't even want to suggest that you do it without talking to people who are, more knowledgeable and experienced about that than I am. Because it's something I've never tried. I can't tell you that it would work or it would be a good idea. It's just that if I was going to try it, I don't know of a better way to try. Now, the third thing there, start a YouTube channel. If I did, uh, if I was successful at selling or listing A and B sides and selling them without making mistakes, without confusing customers, without confusing myself, then I would put that on YouTube and I'd be telling people all about it. There may be somebody out there that's already doing this that might want to share that information. I'd love to see it. But anyway, those are my thoughts on whether or not to list both sides and why I don't. Now that we have that out of the way, let's not forget the second part of Betty's question. If you don't list both sides, then how do you choose? And I've always thought since I started doing this, that's just a matter of personal taste. Um, I do take into account what I think is popular, which is always cars and booze and cigarettes and mid-century modern and Art Deco and things like that. But when I look back at my sales, that's not what I'm selling the most of. I do well with those kinds of things, railroads and um, hobby stuff, kids' toys. I mean, it's all good, but I also sell furnaces and airplane radars and you name it. So to me, uh, you're just it's the toss of a coin. But with that in mind, I've got something fun for you.
Shall we play a game?
So this is just a quick game to show you some great A and B sides. These are active listings of mine. You're on one image, on one screen, you're going to see the A side and the B side, and I'm going to let you guess which one I listed. And this is going to show us how everybody's taste is different. Um, on this first one, what you see on the left is an Orlon fabric ad, and I said, did I list Joni and Darla? Because that looks like Joni Cunningham and Darla Hood off the Little Rascals, Joni off of Happy Days. But the little hats and hairstyles reminded me of that, so that would be cute to list. Or radiation food, and over on the right, you see different kinds of foods that have been exposed to radiation, and it talks about how radiation preserves food. So that was a big idea in the 1950s, and somebody might find that interesting. Which one did I list? The right answer is Joni and Darla. Next up, there's a choice of tasty peach desserts or booze and horses. Which one did I list? I went with the peaches because you can't know this, but my family has been brand loyal to Hunt's ever since I was a kid. Don't ask me why. The next pair of ads, Seal Test or Beauty Rest. Which one did I list? The Beauty Rest ad had a mid century vibe that I really liked, but you can't go wrong with ice cream. This is our last example here. Can you guess? Did I choose booze and boats or a chic chapeau? Which one did I list? I chose the hat. Now, here's the thing, I've just showed you four examples of choices that I made. You may have made different choices. If I had made the choices you made, those ads may have already sold. I'm not going to worry about that because I moved on. I listed other ads. Those other ads have sold. I'm going to list more ads. They'll sell too. Eventually, a customer will find these. They may buy or they may not. I'm selling ads. That's what I'm doing. I'm not going to get hung up about it. I don't think you should either. And so uh, that's why I don't list B sides, is because I've got more ads to sell and I'm going to sell them. I'm going to list them, and they're going to sell. And that's what I've got to say about B-side hits. So I appreciate you tuning in for that. I thank Betty for the suggestion, and I hope you enjoyed it and got something out of it. As I always do, I'm going to close out this video with the summary screen. And this week I sold 16 ads for a total of $203.32. And I had no ads going to a buyer with a surname that matched a company name or the name of a person mentioned in the ad. but I did have 2 ads going back to their home cities. I didn't have any global shipping program sales this week, but I did have 4 repeat customers. It was a great week at Blue Feather Ephemera, and I thank you for watching this video. I hope you got something enjoyable out of it, and I hope to see you again next week. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more content like this, please hit the like button, share it with friends, and subscribe to the channel. Also, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time.